good. I'm in playback, but I don't see a show yet, so I'm sure that will come soon.
Playback is up.
I am in.
Remember to turn. Yep. All right, Stokastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you on a Saturday afternoon, joined by one Matt Bleman, as we break down not one, but two MLB slates. It's going to be a fun one here. Matt, how have you been, good sir?
I have been good. Better now that I'm with you doing an MLB show. I always like these Saturday slates where every game starts at basically the same time. So excited to get on here and break it down with you.
This should be a good one. We do have all of the lineups. We don't have any precipitation risks. There could be maybe a hint of a humidity storm here or there, but the operating words of the day are hot and humid. It's not humid, it's humid in a lot of places because it's kind of it's going to be one of those days. Now, sadly, we don't have the bouncy ball that was around a couple years ago, but today's MLB mush ball might get a chance of going out because not only is it warm and is there a fair amount of humidity in a lot of locations, there's also wind blowing out in the 10 to 15 mile an hour range at a lot of places, including Pittsburgh, Texas, Philadelphia, let's see, Cincinnati. So there you go. That'll be fun. And then tonight's slate, we've got a bunch of good offenses despite there being just 4 games. So it's going to be good. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my video. I'm plugged into the router. I think it's because my video hates the playback and using OBS at the same time as everything else. So that's why you're seeing it choppy. Hopefully you can hear everything. I believe I've updated my audio settings to avoid those challenges. But if we have any of those issues, let me know. Stephen Leibowitz said he's got the old wind blowing out of his living room. So there you go. There you go. All right, Matt, let's take a peek here. Let's go to pitching, of course, because that is where we're going to start everything here. What do you like at the top here? We have some choices, some tough matchups for some of our pitching choices, but what are you looking at here up near the top?
So yeah, I think it's a pretty good slate from a pitching perspective. Up top starts and ends basically for me with Zach Wheeler, the best overall pitcher on the slate. I don't love the matchup. I mean, Arizona certainly has talent and upside, but they're much better against left-handed pitching. Wheeler coming off a rare down outing against Baltimore. I think he looks like the best pitcher here, noting that, really hot, good hitting weather here, but that's pretty much the case everywhere. So I think Wheeler is pretty clearly the best option today. Our tools exemplify that 26.5% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. I'm right on board there.
All right. My counter is going to be Logan Gilbert of the Seattle Mariners. I watched a lot of that Mariners game last night with Kirby on the mound. I had a fair portion of him across my lineups. He had 2 back-to-back hitters, got him for home runs. That was really it. And then the Mariners dropped it in the 10th when Tim Anderson, of all people, got a hit. True or false? Tim Anderson is a 290 career hitter.
I'm going to say true.
True. True or false? Tim Anderson had 4 consecutive years of over 300 batting average.
I would say that's true.
Okay. And true or false? He won a batting title.
Win a batting title. Since you're asking me, I'm going to say true.
It is true. What the hell happened to him over the last 2 years?
The corpse of Tim Anderson.
Yes, I was looking that up because I'm like, God, he used to be so good. I'm like, and then on the broadcast, they said something about him winning a batting title. And I'm like, what? I don't remember that. And I looked, I'm like, God, he really was good. We just remember him as always at the top of that White Sox lineup going against lefties. But yeah, he had one hell of a stretch there as well. So neither here nor there, but worth calling out because that Miami lineup, they've got Jazz Chisholm, Brian De La Cruz, Josh Bell, Jesus Sanchez up at the top. Those are kind of their main four guys. Josh Bell's bounced around a little bit here, but he is the switch hitting veteran. You got Jazz Chisholm, who's legitimately a very good baseball player. It was De La Cruz and Josh Bell that got to Kirby for home runs last night. So that was worth noting. Key things to know about Logan Gilbert is surprisingly, he's getting some Cy Young buzz. He had the top 4 odds in the American League. Now he's not the front runner, but he's up there. He is leading the American League with the 0.915 WHIP, and then he's got a 2.93 ERA, 3.35 FIP, almost a strikeout per inning here. He's never made an All-Star game, surprisingly, but I think this is his 104th start or 105th start of his career. So he's been around for a bit. The Miami lineup has about a 142 isolated power and a 22% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching. So while they are not, they have reasonable power. It's not great, but it's not dreadful. They kind of suppress the strikeouts a little bit. They have just 61 home runs. Which ties them for last, and their total bases, which is another metric I like to look at just to measure overall team power. They are basically last or second to last. They're battling the White Sox in that category. So for me, I like Logan Gilbert, but the pricing 9,200 on DraftKings, 10,600 on FanDuel, 51 on Yahoo. He's getting kind of the ace treatment, but he is the guy I would like to build around. He gets the nod only because of that weather in Philadelphia. That's really the tiebreaker for me. If we need a third pitcher, do you have a vote of confidence for anybody besides Bailey Ober?
I think Ober is obviously the cash game guy that you pair with one of the two, top guys in those type of formats. But in tournaments, probably looking to spend down at SP2. I think there's viable options that are cheaper, and I want some expensive bats. So Ober looks really good. He just carved up this Oakland lineup, but we know he has a propensity to give up home runs. Oakland ballpark obviously plays a lot better for hitting during the day. So I do think that Ober looks good on paper here, but I also think he's going to be really, really highly owned in single entry, higher dollar type contests. So that's a place I'll probably look to get different. But I do think that, as you kind of alluded to, he is the clear third option here behind the two top guys at a cheaper price point in a very good spot, high strikeout upside. I got nothing bad to say about Ober, but I do like spending down. A couple guys I'm looking at, Zach Eflin and JP Sears, who we'll get to in a minute.
Okay. Yeah, I would definitely agree with Ober there. He has 3 starts where he's allowed 5 or more earned runs. 2 of them saw him give up 3 home runs in those games. But you are correct. His last start was pretty good there against the Athletics. So he ended up with a solid outing. Oakland among the leaders in strikeouts, among the leaders in home runs. I think the team is 6th, but they are also down near the bottom for total bases and runs scored. Why is that? Well, while they hit home runs, no one's on deck, or pardon me, people are on deck. No one is on base, seemingly, when they're hitting home runs. So that, you can survive a few solo shots. That was the risk we saw last night with Paddock. Ended up not quite working out for him, but Ober is a little bit better of a pitcher than Paddock. Let's hear about JP Sears in this one. Not to be confused with JP Lozman, JP Crawford, or JP Patches. Nobody's gonna get the JP Patches joke, but I like it. That was for an audience of me.
I don't even get that, and I have to presume you're the only one confusing him for JP Lozman, but yes. I digress. It's just a price thing. He's not great, but he's not bad either. Minnesota strikes out a lot. They are better against left-handed pitching, but he's been pretty good at home. You look at his past couple home starts against Houston, against Seattle, averaged about 19 fantasy points per outing in those 2 starts. I'm not expecting that here, but he's cheap enough and in a good enough matchup where I think he's certainly playable. I don't have much great to say about him, but I don't think it's all dissimilar from a guy like Trevor Rogers last night, who was in a very good matchup, was too cheap for a strikeout upside. I think Sears is a better pitcher than Rogers right now. So yeah, I think Sears is in play for sure.
All right. So what about who is it? Sean Anderson. What's his pitch count? Is he even in the player pool?
He is, but he's like not dirt cheap, I don't think.
He's 6,700 on DK.
He's not for me.
No, it looks like he's only going to be slated to throw somewhere around 70, maybe 75 pitches. That is against the Mariners. That would be strikeouts potential there. It looks like I'm checking two side. Oh, only 3.5 projected strikeouts. That's not overly exciting. When you go those super cheap guys, you kind of want to have a little bit of strikeout upside, just so they have that proverbial shot at a ceiling, maybe 15 DraftKings points. So we'll see. Mix and match, not against it again, going against the Mariners, but I was hoping for something a little more exciting. That is not to be the case here. I see chat giving a little vote of confidence there for Henry Blanco. How are you feeling about he of the no-hitter and then the 7 no-hit innings?
Ronel Blanco?
Oh, Ronel Blanco. Good God.
I don't really use.
I should just stick with last names at this point.
You threw me off guard. I don't really use pitchers against Baltimore ever, and Blanco is not going to be an exception here. Our tools like him as a contrarian option, like 17.5% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, 4th overall, 7% ownership. He looks like the best leverage play in the slate. If I were playing 150 max, maybe I'd, get to the field or a little bit over the field, but in 3 lineups, I'm not going to play him here. Just too risky of a spot against Baltimore.
Right. What about Corbin Burns? Going against Houston. Houston missing Kyle Tucker, of course. Burns, a good pitcher.
I would play Burns over Blanco. Surprising to me that he's lower in the top pitcher tool. He's kind of getting more ownership. I like the matchup better. I don't love him here either, though. I like Gilbert and Wheeler more. I don't love Gilbert here either. He's a guy, I get it. Good ballpark, not crazy hitting weather like other spots, but he's one of these Seattle pitchers that I definitely prefer at home. Now, I know that he's going to another really good pitcher's park, but I still think there's something to be said for that, which is why I personally have Wheeler as my top option. After that, I think you can poke holes in everyone. But I have Burns 3rd as far as 9K above pitchers go after Gilbert.
Okay. And then the last one I think that we can say positive things about before they start getting a lot of holes in their portfolio would be rookie Jared Jones hosting the Tampa Bay Rays here. The Rays do have a 4.3 implied run total, but there are some strikeouts there in that lineup, especially in the back half with Jose Siri, Jose Caballo, etc. Any positives to say about Jones? Because we're going to start picking on some people here.
Yeah, I mean, Jones has a really high strikeout rate. I'm a little surprised he's not getting more ownership. He's kind of expensive. He hasn't been in great form. I'm personally not on the Jones side. I like Tampa bats. That being said, I see both sides of it. Like you told me Jones was your preferred option because of his strikeout upside. I would get it. And I think that both Tampa and Jones have pretty big upside here.
All right. Where there is upside is over at a site called Better. I'm going to drop the link into chat there. It's going to tell you all about the details there. But if you go sign up with Better and use the promo code Stokastic and the number 1, so Stokastic1, you will get up to a $500 match on your first deposit. If you don't come in with that promo code, it's only a $250 match. I'd rather have a $500 match. So utilize that promo code. Plus, it helps us out a little bit as well. Key things you want to know about Better, they're those traditional pick'em sites, but you have the ability to win up to 100 times your payout. You can cobble together up to 8 picks if you choose to do so. They've got NHL, MLB. They have a few other sports popping around there as well. Of course, they're going to have baseball. They have baseball now. We're going to have NFL soon enough. We just got done with the NBA, but you can check it out for WNBA and some other sports there as well. But have some fun. Check out Better. And remember, $500 deposit match if you use the promo code Stokastic1. Remember, the legal age for gambling in most states is 21 or older. And if you or somebody you know has a gambling issue, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, we're at the portion of the show for the first part or the first slate where we're going to start talking about stacks because there are a couple good ones rising to the top. What would you like to go? Oh, I back. All right. It's not my day today. It's not my day. Let's go to top stacks, please. There.
Yeah, bunch of really good stacks today. So a lot to talk about as far as stacks go. Boston looks like they're getting the most ownership, facing Frankie Montas in Cincinnati. You know, obviously a great ballpark for hitting, great weather. It's crazy hot in Ohio today. So they look really good from a value perspective. They look like the top offense. For me, Philly's the top offense, though, facing Tommy Henry and this Diamondbacks bullpen. Henry has not been very good. They're really expensive. So that's keeping their ownership down. And that's part of the reason I'm willing to play guys like Sears and Eflin, because I don't love the expensive pitching and I want Philly bats, the top of the lineup, obviously, specifically. So Philly is my favorite offense here. I think Boston clearly looks like the top value stack like they did last night. They'll be over-owned, so probably a spot I'm looking to get away from, but they do look good as cheap value pieces. And then a bunch of other really good offenses after that, but interested to hear who you have as your top dog here.
So, did you see Bryce Harper's little meme yesterday?
Oh, how could I miss it?
That was kind of interesting. I had to go figure out what that was all about.
Oh, you were hip to that?
Why in the world would I ever?
I mean, you're on the interwebs. I mean, you're alive, not living under a rock is why.
Well, not always, but yeah, this was the uh it's a just check it out on the interweb. It's pretty funny. So I won't get into it much more than that because it's a little ribald, but it was funny. He did not hit a home run, but if he has a new double celebration, if that's going to become a thing, do you think this becomes a thing?
No, I'm sure that it was. I don't think it becomes like a huge thing. I'm sure that people above them are not wanting it to be a huge thing, considering the meaning of it, etc.
I would guess that they don't want to go that direction, but we shall see. In any event, yes, that would be the team that I am going to like the most for baseball reasons here. Obviously, they don't have JT Real Muto because he hit the injured list, but Trey Turner is back. Turner ended up with a 2-home run last night. He has 2 multi-hit games in the 3 that he's been back after missing 6 weeks for a hamstring injury. He is someone that it's hard to believe it's already his age 30 season, but he is someone that is an excellent hitter. You, of course, have Harper and Schwarber, who are absolutely elite in lefty-lefty matchups. Who else made the lineup today? Alec Bohm, I believe he has a decent history against Henry. Pretty small, but most of the hitters today had at least 2 hits against Henry, or the key ones. Edmundo Sosa has had a heck of a season here. He's put up some absolutely just gobsmacking, amazing numbers in against righties. He's got, or probably against lefties, he's got a 465 WOBA and a 367 ISO and 56 plate appearances, and that's a small sample size. But that's pretty much elite there. Who else do we like? Castellanos. Yeah, Castellanos. I think we like Castellanos. Kristen Pache can get you there for a discount, 2,400 on DraftKings. That might get into your lineups to make it a little helpful. But this looks like a good spot. Tommy Henry he's got talent. He has definitely shown decent stuff. But he is let's see, his last 545 batters faced, he has almost a 30% fly ball rate. That's not going to play very well today. He has 1.82 home runs per 9. That also not going to play well today. So this is between the weather and Philly being pretty much one of the top 3 offenses in the league, that just everything's lining up against him. So I like the Phillies because, of course, I'm a chalk donkey here, but those would be my favorites. I like Bohm for a home run today. A Bohm bomb.
Yeah, I like Castellanos a lot. Crushes lefties. I like Bohm. I mean, the top six really looks great. Sosa, Pache, Marchand, they're fine as fillers. Like Sosa sucks because you can't play him and Turner together, but he's not bad in his own right. Pache is cheap, even though he's not good. And then Marchand's a catcher. So I think the whole stack is in play. Um, to stack like 1 through 5 on the Phillies, you're not going to be able to use any expensive pitcher. And I don't think a lot of people are going to play that way. So I know that you're a chalk donkey and Philly will be popular, but I don't think as a stack, like 1 through 5, they're going to be popular because it's hard to get there. And that's why we're seeing Boston with more ownership and Minnesota with more ownership, which just makes me like Sears even more.
That is fun until you get over to the blue site. Because remember, you can play both those guys together on the blue side because we've got the flex spot. So FanDuel actually has Philly as the most popular stack here, whereas you are correct. DraftKings, they're the third most popular, but they're in a mix with 6 teams that are between 7 and 9.9%. So they're potentially getting lost in the shuffle there. They also have excuse me, the best chance to be a top stack, but it's just 12%. You've got Boston also at 12%. They are in Great American Ballpark today, going against Frankie Montas, and then you've got 7 teams with the 6% or higher. So we've got a wide open slate here today, which is kind of fun because Minnesota is popping up here going against JP Sears. So we got a few both sidesers in this one here. Talk to me a little bit about Boston. They tend to not make too many of our shows. Everything is more or less concentrated for their lineup. They get a huge upgrade today. Of course, let's see, they are missing Tyler O'Neill. So they do have Rafael Devers in there. Connor Wong moving up to the 3rd spot. That is a prominent increase. Weiler Abreu is in the 2-hole today. So decent options up there. Yoshida at least is healthy. That's positive, but just this ballpark, it is the most home run friendly park in the league, even more so than Coors Field. So how do you feel about Boston, and would you flip the script and go with the Reds at all here?
Boston looks good from a point per dollar perspective, and that's why they're getting ownership. So I get it. Montas isn't very good. Great ballpark for hitting, great weather, as you mentioned. Ownership is a little bit concerning on Boston, though. They were very highly owned last night. They will be again today. Now they're better against right-handed pitching, so I like them better today. But they're just going to be overowned in my eyes. The tools say that. I just think that's how we're seeing it because of how cheap they are and because people want to roster expensive pitching. So I get it. I think they look very good in cash games. I think as a secondary stack, they're more than fine. I mean, as a main stack, they're more than fine. It's just probably a spot I'm going to be getting away from.
How do you feel about your Cleveland Guardians? They're going against Jose Berrios again. They took him on Sunday. We'll call that one kind of a toss-up here. Berrios didn't get too many strikeouts. Cleveland got to him a little bit, but Cleveland's been looking pretty tough lately. A 5 implied run total. That was felt a little bit high for me. How are you feeling about the Guardians?
Yeah, it's crazy hot here. I mean, one of the hottest stretches we've had in a long time. So yeah, I'm not surprised that Cleveland's kind of popping the tools a bit. They're really good. Their offense has been great this year. Now, they're not the best team to stack because they don't hit a ton of home runs, but certainly better in that regard than they had been in years past. And they just have a bunch of really good hitters. I think with them, I respect Berrios enough where I don't need to stack against him. Now, I certainly like the Cleveland side more than Berrios here, or Berrios, excuse me, but I'm not excited about the Guardians as I would if they were facing like a Yariel Rodriguez like they were last night. That said, the tools really like them. Them and Tampa, 2 teams that are facing, pretty good pitchers that are really high in our tools that I could see stacking. I'm a little bit higher in Tampa myself, but I could totally get Cleveland as well.
All right. Let's go out to California here. Let's look at Oakland. Actually warm for Oakland. It's going to be almost 80. Usually it's in the set mid to upper 70s there at this point of the year, but it looks like it's going to be hitting 80 during this game. You've got let's see, Royce Lewis There's a potential home run. All he does is hit home runs. He has been phenomenal. You've got Jose Miranda getting a key spot in the lineup because they're trying to get all the righties in. Correa, Manny Margot leading off. Ryan Jeffers slumping a little bit, but he was off to a torrid start for the first couple months of the season. You've got switch hitter Willie Castro sliding all the way down to 8th. Switch hitter Carlos Santana and his smooth swing batting 5th. That just feels wrong, but I love that he's still in the league so I can make the smooth joke for just, at least another year or two. Talk to me about going against your boy, JP Sears.
Yeah, I mean, they look good here. I don't think Sears is anything special. They're getting ownership.
And to be clear, it's a price play for those wondering why I'm teasing Matt about Sears.
Yeah,
he is the best point per dollar play on the docket, but salary cap's a thing in DFS. No matter how we try to avoid it, it's still a thing.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I don't really see the Twins here. Like, I don't think it's a bad spot for them. Again, Sears isn't anything special, and Minnesota is better against left-handed pitching, but still a tougher ballpark for hitting. Sears isn't really getting ownership. You got pinch hit risk. Their lineup isn't that attractive to me to begin with. The only thing I could say is that they look good in the tools. Like, they're right with Cleveland and Tampa. I prefer Cleveland and Tampa though. Like, I think that shows you something that Minnesota's facing JP Sears, Cleveland's facing Barrios, and Tampa's facing Jarrett Jones. And all three of those teams have like similar top stack percentages. Sears is clearly worse than Barrios or Jones. So I don't know. The tools are pushing me on the Sears side here. I'm not on Minnesota myself playing limited lineups. If I were playing 150, I wouldn't fully fade them. I'd probably match the field, and it wouldn't be a great day for me, and it won't be a great day for me if they go off.
No, and that makes a lot of sense here. It's one of those spots where if you look at last year, the team had a 170 ISO against lefties. Pretty good. This year they have a 220 ISO against lefties. They're just it's like everybody's on a heater right now for the Twins. So it's influencing my take on it a little bit. But I like to look at the 2-year sample size. We're at the point of the year where I'm okay looking at single sample size, but I always like to keep an eye just to see if there's something crazy happening like that is similar to the Mariners. Like, oh my God, their offense. It's like, well, literally everybody's slumping at this point. Julio Rodriguez, who's not in the lineup, he has 3 different months in his career where he has more home runs than he has this season. JP Crawford has more home runs than Julio Rodriguez in like 100 fewer plate appearances. Been a rough year.
Julio has 1 homer and 2 doubles on the road this year.
Really? I hadn't realized it was that dire.
That's crazy.
That definitely is. Let's see here if we have anything else. What do you think going against Pivetta? Any particular Reds you'd like to call out or highlight here?
Not really. It's just a good ballpark. Pavetta's good, so it'd be more wanting to stack them fully. Get a down Pivetta game, get into an okay, not great bullpen. Yeah, I don't really like any specific Reds. I would be okay stacking them, just not my favorite on the board.
And then we kind of really didn't go on either side of Texas or Kansas City here. You've got John Gray on the mound going against the Kansas City bats. And then you've got Michael Wacha. I believe he's coming off the injured list to make this start here. Any interest in either side there?
Yeah, I actually do kind of like Kansas City. John Gray coming off a horrendous outing. He's been pretty good this year by his actual numbers. His underlying numbers aren't as good. Kansas City's got big upside. So they've got an insanely cheap Adam Frazier leading off, second base and outfield eligible. And then Witt, Pasquantino, Perez. I like that top 4. I think that Kansas City is a sneaky stack today.
All right. I see someone ask about Mighty Quinn after go ahead.
I was going to say also on Texas, there's 2 bats I love today, just as one-offs, or if you're playing the stack, obviously. One of them is Adolis Garcia. So I'll just say both of them right now. They're 2 guys that are having down years, but that are usually priced $5K or above, that are really starting to show signs of a breakout. One is Adolis Garcia. He's 4,200. I mean, this is a guy who had been 5,500 for much of the year. All of a sudden is 4K in the 4K range. I like him a lot. Walked and got a hit yesterday. And then Randy Arozarena, probably my favorite overall play on the slate. 3,700 for him. He had a really, really awful start to the season. His numbers aren't good still, but he's got double-digit fantasy points in like 5 games in a row. Clearly seeing the ball better. 3,700 for him is a steal. So Adolis Garcia and Randy Arozarena, 2 guys I like a ton today.
All right. They were asking in chat here, didn't Mighty Quinn was asking, didn't Julio Rodriguez win a home run derby? No, he actually never did. He had a few monster rounds when he was in Seattle. 2022, the All-Star game was in Seattle, and I think I've got that right. In any event, he had 81 home runs across 3 rounds. He finished second to Juan Soto. I'm just looking at his Wikipedia page. And then the next year, he had 41 home runs in the first round of the home run derby against Pete Alonso. So that was the record for the most home runs in a single round, but he never actually has won. So a good call out there on Adolis Garcia. Anything else from our early slate? Perhaps we should call out a home run.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I mentioned I like Alec Bohm. I'm going to go with Miranda here. My sort of off the board home run. Royce Lewis a little expensive, and I already went with Bohm. But, those are my 2.
Okay.
Do you have any?
Yeah, I'm going to go with both guys I just said, Adolis Garcia and
sorry.
Randy Arozarena. Yeah, both my 2 favorite bats on the slate.
All right. Does anybody want anything free? Hit that thumbs up if you want some free stuff. But I'm going to tell you how you can do it. In addition to hitting that thumbs up, if you have a Stokastic account, we're doing free best ball content for the entire season. You are getting Matt Gajewski's suite of data, information, rankings. You get it all for free. All you got to do is just have a Stokastic account, not even a subscription, just an account. And that will get you access to all Stokastic NFL best ball content. That is a really, really good deal. I recommend that you all consider checking it out. Let's move on to our late slate here, Matt. So just 4 games, but the puzzle pieces are phenomenal for this one here. There is one obviously amazing pitcher at the top. That would be Tyler Glasnow. He is getting the ace treatment across the board for his salary, $11,500 on FanDuel. DraftKings is $300 more. How often do we see pitchers more expensive on DraftKings? Not all that often. And Yahoo put him at 61, which is their official ace tier. Anything over 58 is and getting into that 60 range is correct. So true or false, Glasnow's 93 innings this year are the 3rd most of his career.
True, but that's sad.
It's sad. This is his 9th season, so 8 seasons and change. He only has 622 innings, or about the equivalent of 3 as a hardcore frontline starter. That's pretty crazy. Currently, he leads the National League with 12.1 strikeouts per inning and just 5.8 hits per 9 innings. Pardon me, 12 strikeouts per 9 innings. That'd be impressive if he got 12 strikeouts in 1 inning. Not quite. He has a league high 11 wild pitches, but that's about all we can pick on him for in that one. He gets to take on the Angels, who have absolutely been scuffling this year. It hurts not having Ohtani. It hurts not having Trout. At least he's still on the team, but he's out with injury. Anthony Rendon is out. You have Brandon Drury, who missed some time. He's back, but then he's dealing with an illness. He should be in the lineup tonight, but you're looking at the likes of Willie Calhoun, Logan O'Hoppe, Taylor Ward, etc. So advantage Glasnow. But there are other options here on the late slate. Would you be willing to consider Marcus Stroman, perhaps? Would you go with aging or ageless wonder Charlie Morton against the Yankees? Maybe a Carlos Rodriguez? Where would you go for a second pitcher here? Because that's when the fun begins.
Yeah, so first off, I think, and again, you kind of mentioned that this slate for a 4-gamer, the puzzle pieces are fun because you've got very good offensive options, but then a pitcher that just really stands out in Glass now. He stands out so much on this slate that personally I'd be just playing in every lineup I played probably. He's expensive, so it hampers what you can do offensively, but there's so many good offensive spots that I'm not overly concerned with it. He's in a great spot, and he's by far the best DFS pitcher, overall pitcher on the slate. So I think you lock Glass now in, and then who you want to pair with him is kind of a guessing game for me. I mean, Morton, I feel best about. I think he's the best pitcher aside from Glass now on the slate, but certainly can't feel too good about him going into New York to face the Yankees. Stroman's not a guy I'm going to play at this price point in this matchup, especially getting ownership. He might be like the last option for me. Even though, again, I think he's the third best pitcher on the slate. Way too expensive in a tough matchup and getting ownership. No thanks. Mitchell Parker, I don't hate. He's been pretty good. Now it's risky going into Colorado, of course, but I don't think he looks bad, all things considered. Like, I think pairing him with Glass now makes a lot of sense. Same with Carlos Rodriguez. I think I like Parker a little bit more than Rodriguez just because of the matchup. Like, San Diego is really good, especially against righties. Colorado is not very good against anyone. So you got course play in effect and obviously a much better pitching environment for Rodriguez, but I don't think he's very good. And Parker has showed signs of being good. So I think Parker is my preferred SP2. Randy Vasquez, like, he stinks, but he's 5,900, fully stretched out on a slate where you don't have good pitching options. Like, okay. Same with Cal Quantrill. He's getting ownership too. Like, he's projected to be the third highest owned pitcher on the slate behind Glasnow and Randy Vasquez. So, yeah, I think that tells you all you need to know about tonight's pitching options. And then finally, Zach Plesac. He's the lowest pitcher in our top pitcher tool, but he still has an 11% chance of being that guy. 1% ownership. Like, yeah, I think my preferred option is Mitchell Parker, but in tournaments, I think my next guy would be Zach Plesac. I don't think he's any worse than the other guys that we're talking about here, and he's not getting any ownership, albeit really tough spot against the Dodgers, but that's just what we're working with today. Very, very ugly slate from a pitching perspective.
Homer. That's all I can say. Homer. Plesac, really?
I mean,
come on. Okay, here's the reasons not to play him. He's 29 years old. Okay, that's not a bad thing.
He's not good.
Over the last 2 years, he has just 27 innings in the show, just under 5 strikeouts per 9 innings. In those 27 innings, he has 21 earned runs, 5 home runs allowed. In the minors, which is where he has spent most of the last 2 years, he has 169 innings with 34 home runs, 6.5 strikeouts, and 3.7 walks. So could he stymie the Dodgers for one night? Sure, anything can happen. But that's a terrifying thing to go to just because there's no strikeouts. Randy Vasquez. Oh, go ahead.
No, I mean, my counter to that would be like, yeah, Plesac's not good, and he's the worst pitcher in our top pitcher tool. But Vasquez has a 17% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, and is getting 30% ownership. Plesac has an 11% chance and is getting 1% ownership. That's literally all it is.
Yeah, no, totally. And this is the hit on Vasquez. Just 28 strikeouts in his 42 innings. He has 6 home runs allowed in his last 21 innings. That's over his last 4 starts. He is terrifying. He's absolutely terrifying. You've got Milwaukee, who is don't look now, but they're one of the best offenses in the league, and they have one of the better records in the league. I know we tend to ignore that as DFS gamers, but it's funny to look at them and they're like, they have the 3rd best record in the National League. When did that happen? They're a top 6 offense. Really? With that motley crew, they're a top 6 offense. How did that happen? It's happening. So, I made a fun joke. Leibowitz is the only one who will get this one, probably. I made a Randy of the Redwoods joke. Since in my article today, Steven was mentioning the Max Headroom. That was Randy of the Redwoods, was a MTV character back in the day when they used to play music videos once upon a time. So we're looking at guys like that, which is just, it's crazy. Morton is gazillion years old. Last you weren't on the show, but I think I did this with with Lindquist, but I broke down the Charlie Morton who pitched in the late 1800s, comparing him to.
No, that was
I guess
me.
he played third. Was it you? Was it he played
Yeah.
third base? I guess. Yeah. So Morton's about that old. I totally agree with you. Even without Harris and without Acuna, I don't want any part of the Atlanta offense with Marcus Stroman, because if they get even a little bit of lift on the ball today, those are home runs. Even though he's a ground ball pitcher, right? So we're quickly checking everybody off. And then even if you look at Carlos Rodriguez, he's like a perfectly barely average pitcher that will be forgotten quickly. So that all of a sudden we're starting. Is it Mitchell Parker? Did the Nationals use up their runs last night? Perhaps. Do we go with Cal Quantrill? Always fun that Quantrill and Plesac, whenever they line up on the same slate, because of course Quantrill's what was it? It was his dad pitched and Plesac's uncle pitched.
This is the first slate they've ever been on together in their entire lives, probably.
Is it?
It has to be, because they both played for the Guardians prior to this year. Plesac hasn't pitched this year, so
that's right.
Yep.
You're right.
Talking about how fun it is when they're both on the same slate.
I always keep looking. It's hilarious because I remember when my dad was like, "Oh yeah, I remember when so and so's dad played, whatever." And there weren't that many. Now there's just tons. But baseball has always been one that has multiple generations, just because there were so many more players throughout the time. Because there were more teams than there were for the NFL for a long time, and of course basketball for a very long time. So it just allowed baseball was more conducive to having multiple generations play, not just the Ripkins or others, but it's pretty fun. All right, so who else do you like on offense? Because there's a lot of them here. So let's do it slightly differently. We got about 15 more minutes here that we'll go. Let's look at some secondary portions of the stacks, I think is the way to say it. Because if we're spending on Glass now, we're not going to be able to get the CJ Abrams stack. We're not going to be able to get, the heart of, well, we might be able to work in the Milwaukee stack. We're certainly not going to get Freeman and Ohtani in there. It's going to be hard to get Albies, Ozuna, Riley, and Olsen there with Glass now. Do you swap this up or shake it up by going with trios, like maybe a primetime trio, and then just bargain bin guys the rest of the way? What are you thinking as you're mentally sketching out your 2 or 3 lineups you're going to build tonight?
I think that there's certain cheap bats on the slate that you can really look at to kind of offset the Glassnow salary. Not even talking about stacks, like Jared Kelenic, 3,100 leading off against Stroman. I like that quite a bit. You'll probably have David Peralta in the lineup for 2,600. He's not great, but he's cheap enough where it works. There's some cheap Dodgers, Jason Hayward, Kevin Biggio. So there's certainly ways to make it work. Obviously, if you're using Glass now, you're not going to be able to, do the Ohtani, Freeman, Teoscar stack probably, but I don't even know if I need that today. And every team that has expensive players like the Nationals with Abrams, there's ways to offset that. I don't think the Nationals are expensive enough. Abrams is expensive. He's 62. I don't even mind, if you have to leave him out of the stack, he's certainly the top guy to get to on Washington, but I don't think he's a must play. You're more playing Washington to play against Cal Quantrill and the Coors Field effect. Lane Thomas is 51, but everyone else is pretty affordable. So if you need Abrams, you can fit Abrams with Glass now here. You just need to concede elsewhere, use a couple cheap bats. I don't think we'll see Drew Millis in the lineup today because he played last night. He was really good for a cheap price point. Imagine we'll get Keibert Ruiz. He's 3,800. So Washington is priced up a little bit more than they had been. They still have the highest percent chance of being the top value stack, but it's not crazy high or anything like that. So yeah, I just think no matter who you stack, because pretty much every team on this slate, aside from the Angels, looks pretty viable from a stacking perspective. And you could throw the Angels in too, just for the simple fact that they're going to be unowned. But aside from them, every team looks pretty viable. And I think it's just like picking your spots and then using a couple of the cheap bats to be able to fit who you want.
All right, that makes sense. There. I wanted us to kind of talk through that just a little bit because it feels so disingenuous saying play the most expensive hitter, stack the Dodgers, stack Coors Field. It'll be easy. No, it won't be easy because the sites did a great job with pricing Glass now on this slate. OddShopper. There's a place we can talk about some pricing. That's pricing the market using the market against itself, looking at all these sports books and creating some efficiency rankings and seeing who's stepped out of line. Quickly looking at OddShopper here today, Frankie Montas, the under on his 4.5 strikeouts is plus 123. I wish Tyler O'Neill was in the lineup, but you know what? I'll take the under on 5 strikeouts at plus 123 in Cincinnati. Of course, I took the under on 5 strikeouts for Jameson Taillon, and he has 7 now. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But this is the market-based approach that allows you to create that positive ROI, that expected value that helps you not only sustain but grow your bankroll. So you can look at OddShopper to find this. You can sort it by sports. It has all the pick'em sites. So if you are in a state that doesn't have sports wagering, you can utilize this to look at better and the other pick'em sites. So that is very, very helpful. $14.95 per week, $49.95 per month. You get half a dozen sports specific Discord channels here as well with your subscription. And then you also get the consolidated channel where all of the wagers are called out in real time by many of our contributors. And if you look at the page here, if Mike goes up to pro picks and advice in the middle of the page, and if he clicks on the expert picks, you will see what the posted picks are for upcoming. Here, you can sort it by contributor, or you can see the different ones, when they got it, how much they put on it, and what the line is available at now. This is a lot of fun for football because you get, the bets will start popping up on here 3 or 4 days before Sunday, and you can kind of see line movement and start to understand why getting some of these lines is early is the way to go before they settle down. So just wanted to call all of that out. Who were your 2 favorite hitters for the early slate? They were called
Arozarena and Adolis Garcia.
All right. And then one other thing that we have, we'll call out home runs here in just a second, but we do have the lineup generator here for Stokastic. It does the main slate for both FanDuel and for DraftKings. So if we can have producer Mike go over and just do the DraftKings main slate here. That was the one that I had called up earlier, so I know that should be working. So the lineup generator, basically, it allows you to choose your stack types. DraftKings, you can go 5-3, 5-0, and 4-4. On FanDuel, you can go 4-4, 4-3, and 4-2-2. You can focus in on any one of those types, or you can just click all stack types. You get to choose your lineup types. Do you want to go chalky? Do you want to go balanced? Do you want to go contrarian? It's a little bit different in baseball. More often than not, things are kind of contrarian just by nature because there are so many hitters. And if you just have 1 or 2 2 or 3% owned guys, which isn't that hard to do, and you're not even really making bad plays, your combinatorial ownership will be much different than everybody else's. But you can, chalky lineups just means if there's a great hitting spot, you're going to see just stack after stack on those. You can lock in a pitcher if you would like. You can lock in a hitter. We can skip those, but you can build out your lineups. You can build out up to 20 lineups. Click save if you like one, discard if you don't. Once you've got up to 20 lineups, and you can check this at any time, but once you hit that 20 lineups, you can go over there and look at the view saved lineups. It'll take you over to your player portfolio. Off to the right shows you how many times the players have been used. To the left shows you the different lineups. If you click on any of the players in there, it will highlight their lineups, bring it to the top. On the left side there, you can click the drop down, see who is in said lineups. You can swap players in and out manually if you would like to, but it's a great way to build out lineups. It also helps you understand kind of what the best plays are if you're building out a cash game. It utilizes all the tools that are in the Sims. It's got the top stacks tool, the leverage. It's got player projections, just everything that we have, probabilities. This is simmed thousands and thousands of times, and it pops up with good lineups, meaning that it's all positive expected value lineups. And we see people winning tournaments with these tools all the time. But if you are short on time, you want to come home, throw together a few lineups, get the kids to bed, kick back with a tasty beverage, watch a little bit of baseball, this is a great way to get in on that. But that is the Stokastic lineup generator. All right, home runs on our late slates. Matt, what is tickling your fancy?
I'm going to go with one of the hottest hitters in baseball right now, Jake Cronenworth against Carlos Rodriguez.
Nice. I rarely do home runs because I'm in Florida. I only have Hard Rock, and Hard Rock, unlike FanDuel, that always has the pretty much every time the best numbers on home run odds. Hard Rock has some of the worst, but I got some 20% bonus booster every day this week. So I used it on Jake Cronenworth the other day. Woo! He got a home run. That was a good time. I think I paired it with one other thing. So I had like an 8x payout. So that was kind of fun. Yeah, it was only $10 or $5, but you got to be careful. You got to understand OddShopper, because I write up OddShopper all the time. I can see how Hard Rock more often than not is down in the less than favorable spots. That's what happens when you have a monopoly and their synthetic hold is much higher than it really should be if there was more competition. But neither here nor there. My home run, let's pick somebody. I don't want to go with the Dodgers. I don't want to go with Coors Field. You already got Cronenworth. Let's wander our way over to Atlanta. Oh, easy. Jared Kelenic. Jared Kelenic. I can never say his name. I just have to think his name after. If I read it, I say it wrong. But after those years of just not quite breaking through as a Seattle prospect, he's getting all the playing time he can handle right now for Atlanta because they're down 2 outfielders. But he's at the top of the order there. He does have some pop. So I am going to go that route with that. Doing one last look at the weather, nothing has changed since we started the show. The New York game does have the highest potential chance for precipitation, but it's really not that high, and it's nothing more than in-game precipitation at worst. So we're not, maybe we dance with Stroman or Morton, but we should be able to get them in with 4 or 5 innings before anything happens. So that will do it. Shout out there to Apple guy, Chris Williams, who got 5 memberships there. Appreciate that for the YouTube members. So always fun. Final thoughts, Matt, before we sign off for Saturday.
Dolis Garcia and Randy Arozarena.
All right. With that, gamers, you can follow Matt on Twitter at Fantasy Tips. Matt, you can find me at EMac DFS. And of course, it is Stokastic _COM. With that, gamers, good luck.